like you're not special. Other people are doing this thing as well. And so you have to say, like, if you are special, you're then a consultant that has variable outcomes and variable start points. If you are a service provider, you should have a consistent output and a consistent ongoing, an ongoing output. And so your specialness should be trained to other people, because otherwise it's all dependent on you. And I think that's the thing that, like, I early on believed to be true of, like, oh, I'm special. And then I think that over time, it's like, oh, hey, other people are doing this at a higher level or a higher caliber or a more thing than you ever thought was possible, even if you think you have a unique way of doing it. And if you can, the sooner that you can understand that while still retaining, like, your integrity of what you think should be, the line should be of what you're holding the line to be, I think that you can then grow much faster.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to Season 4 of Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO services, consulting, and accounting. Now, this is Season 4, where we're focusing specifically on companies who've either bought, sold, they're scaling, or I know for a fact that they're just killing it and excelling, right? So, because, I've been in the game for a little bit now, my circles are starting to get a little bit bigger, in a couple of mastermind groups, you start meeting people. And then you start listening to people talk. And you can pretty much find out, like, some people like, they just flashy, a little cocky, a little arrogant. Then you listen to some people and you like, this person's a genius. And this guy that we have today, I've heard him talk like multiple times, and his brain would just be like, and he's always helping people in the community that we're in. He's always giving them great advice. So I'm like, I got to get this man on here so he can share some of this goodness with y'all. So, ladies and gentlemen, JJ is here. What's going on, man?
Hey, Cameron, doing well on this side of the country. I'm on the opposite side of you, so
There we go. All right, so tell the people name of the company and what do you guys do?
yeah. So my name is JJ Reynolds. I own Vision Labs, so we are an analytics agency. So we just serve companies and help build out measurement systems that help measure marketing, performance, and everything along those lines, and then also help make sure your data is as profitable as possible.
See, he said the P word, profitable. So you know where we're going with this. All right, so tell the people, just because they may not know you, they may not have ever heard of you. So tell them a little bit of your story, like how you got started, what led you to Vision Labs, etc.
Yeah, so I started the same, if we're getting technical with it, like the same EIN that I run right now, I started in 2017. So like it's the same thing. We've had iterations on it. I was actually in university, and I was running. I was shooting a lot of videos for different types of businesses, mostly wineries in the Napa Valley. Realized that no one really knew what to do with these videos. So then I learned that you can run Facebook ads, and this was like 2017. It was a lot easier. You push a button, you get money, it go from there. And so then I started doing that. I went for a short stint to go work at another agency here that was based in Hawaii. And then I was there for like, I don't know, 4-6 months. And then my girlfriend at the time lived in Portland. So then I left that, went to Portland, and this was kind of on my own, doing contracting work for different types of customers around ads, media buying, everything there. Everyone kind of really, really enjoyed the reporting that we were building out. At the time, it was just myself, because we focused on more downstream events and downstream metrics around revenue and things like that, which is sometimes very hard to do and track, and then also hard to communicate that with a client about saying, hey, here's what should or shouldn't be happening with your numbers. Basically started rolling back Facebook ads, rolling back creative, and just focused on the data. Ended up hiring a team. So now we have like data engineers, we've got conversion tracking experts, we've got the whole 9 yards when it comes to everything surrounding your data infrastructure. And in the last, I'd say, year, we've really started to accelerate by standardizing our offers, and then also like going up market into having more enterprise clients. So we kind of dabble in both like the like larger scale small businesses and then mid-sized big businesses. And so that's the kind of the quick and dirty of it.
Okay, you said a lot right there. So let's do the let's talk about standardizing the offer because most geniuses like yourself, because they're so creative and can create and think of all these things, typically what we've seen on our side with the accounting and the fractional CFO piece is they have like 20 different offers because you just got to be ready in case they want all these things. What helped you to standardize your offer and how have you seen it benefit you?
Yeah, so it started originally. So the original standard was standardization of price. That is one standard. It made it easy for billing because everything was 5K per month and everything was recurring on month to month with 30-day notice. So that was easy from a billing perspective because we didn't have to work, and like we didn't really deviate from that. There was no like I might throw a 4997 in there of like, hey guys, like we'll give you like I don't know, some people are more direct marketer style, like want to buy. That was it. What happened though is that like after the first kind of 6 months, it ended up deviating where all of the different things that we're doing for every client started deviating more and more. I mean, this like hodgepodge of like where we have customers for 2 years and we're like, what are we doing for them again? And like everything. Now what we're doing is we're focusing more on these like sprint styles and then a lower retainer amount. So we used to just charge a higher amount per month indefinitely, but now we do like a higher upfront cost of like, hey, 30, 60, or 90 days, depending on the size of the organization and how fast that like they will let us move. And we price that as a sprint. And then we have a lower, like a good, better, best on the back end of a recurring services. And that allows us to like really match the effort to the outcome. And then we also can kind of like hedge our bets around like if we're maintaining things, it will eventually get easier over time. And so that's kind of our current standardization. We still have, I'd say, about half of our customers are on like the older system of like what's happening, and about half of the customers that we currently have are on our newer system of where we like kind of have it more standardized.
Okay. And yeah, we do a very similar model where it's a higher upfront fee because it's just more work on the front end versus that lower monthly retainer to kind of keep things not only good, but just keep that relationship good. So good job there. All right. Another thing you said, I got right here in my notes. You said we're also working on working upstream into some of the bigger contracts. Tell us what is your philosophy there? Because I think everybody wants the big client or the whales, the people that pay us these huge retainers, but you have done it successfully and kept the relationship great. So, kind of give us a little bit of what was your approach to finding them and then how you're keeping that relationship going.
Yeah. So like when going up market, like I think the biggest asset is like a website, which sounds really, really counterintuitive, but um, people don't value like the things that you don't have a direct ROI on. If you go to our website, anyone who's listening to this, go to visionlabs.com and like just go poke around our website. And everybody who does that is like, oh, these guys, they feel bigger than they are. Because our website's so built out and we keep adding more content every single month, week, year to the site. We build out new sections. We now have like an academy section, which is just like free learning for different types of things. And so um, I think just in general, it's like you have to kind of shoot for these higher marks, and it's very hard to break into. But once you have one logo, it's very easy to sell a different logo to that of like saying, "Hey, we work with X." If you're allowed to say that with your NDAs, because some companies that are larger, like they won't let you tell other people that you work with them.
So, we name dropping. I got it. So, name dropping does help. Okay. What have you seen is the difference in maintaining these higher level companies versus maybe your more traditional, we'll say a million or less?
Yeah, so like I would say that with the bigger companies, you have to be very, very good at what you say you're going to do. Um, and so you're more of like at bigger companies, like they have a budget, right? So you're more of a risk aversion, right? You're less risky than hiring someone in house where this is part of their job. This is our entire job. So we're like a less risky option than having someone internally or some other company doing this one thing. Whereas with smaller companies, you have to do more things and you can be mediocre at them because no one really knows the difference. And if you mess up, it's like, oh yeah, oops, like that's a problem. I'll give an example of that actually. Is like we have one customer that's very, very large. They're like a Fortune 200 company, and we do a very, very specific task for them. Our scope is so tight. We do one thing, we do it very, very well, and we meet with them every other week. One time, like their entire like product went down because of something someone else did that was kind of related to us. We didn't do it; it wasn't our fault, but like we knew how to solve it because it was in our domain expertise. And so we hopped on a call, and there was like 30 people on this like call because it's like a $1 billion company, and they're like, we need to figure out why this is broken. And like one of our tech leads hopped on the call and was like, oh, I fixed it. It wasn't our fault, but like we knew how to fix it. And that took a lot of skill to be able to have one person be able to answer that question very, very quickly. Whereas with a small business, it's like, hey, it's broken. You're like, cool, not the biggest thing on fire. It's okay if like this is happening, um, because you can kind of like go around it. So that's a probably pretty poor example, but hopefully it gets the point across.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, let's go this route, more back focused on you. So, what is something you believed about business early on when you first started that you feel like you've had to work to really unlearn in present day?
I think that like the concept of like you being special is like what you have to unlearn. I think in the beginning when you start out, like you and I'd say that this is probably the example for like every business that's not like a venture backed like startup. I like don't play in that world very often. Not a big fan of it personally because I just don't have that uh like risk tolerance of like I'm gonna go bet the whole everything on that. But for like the normal person, like you're not special. Other people are doing this thing as well. And so you have to say, like, if you are special, you're then a consultant that has variable outcomes and variable start points. If you are a service provider, you should have a consistent output and a consistent ongoing, uh, like an ongoing output. And so your specialness should be trained to other people because otherwise it's all dependent on you. And I think that's the thing that like I early on believed to be true of like, oh, I'm special. And then I think that over time, it's like, oh, hey, other people are doing this at a higher level or a higher caliber or a more thing than you ever thought was possible, even if you think you have a unique way of doing it. And if you can, the sooner that you can understand that while still retaining like your integrity of what you think should be the line should be of what you're holding the line to be, I think that you can then grow much faster.
I have never heard that one before. That's good. So, unlearning the fact that what you do is just not so super unique, but you are really good at it.
Yeah. I use this example to my wife all the time, and she absolutely hates it. It's like, hey, like, oh, hey, Cameron, like, do you think that you're one in a million? And you're like, yeah, like I'm one in a million. Like I'm like special, right? Well, I'm like, cool. Well, then there's 7,000 U's in the world because there's 7 billion people. So like, you could run a marathon with just yourself, with 7,000 people. And so like, that's like the example I use in my head of like, if you're one in a million, awesome. There's 7,000 other U's.
Dang. I mean, when you say it, it makes sense, but it's like, dang, that sucks. Okay. What is one thing you figured out that you think most agency owners or business owners in general still probably sleep on?
I think the investment into like content and like SEO as like your lead funnel. I think the biggest thing, and everybody has this problem, is like there's a mathematical growth point of everyone has like client churn, whether that they go out of business, whether they just get bought and they cut all contracts. Like we had a customer one time that's like, hey, we're in housing everything. Like we're not using outside vendors for anything. And so there's a mathematical number of customers that you have to bring on uh, at a certain price point of a customer value that you have to either sustain to stay where you are, and then you have to go past that to grow beyond that. And I think people don't realize that very often. And if you can figure out a way of acquiring customers at a more efficient rate than someone that's your competitor, then you win. And if you're just running ads or if you're just doing like networking, it's very hard to do that in a way that like isn't going to be capped at some point. Like you can only go to so many events a year. Yes, they're hotter leads, they're warmer leads, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out some other way of acquiring customers that isn't based off of like you doing something.
That is factually true. Okay. Let's go this. Now, let's talk money because you talked at the beginning, you dropped the P word, profitability, and you said that a lot of the things you do are to show them that. So go a little bit more into detail because I'm sure we have some people that are like, what kind of data outside of my financials could you be showing me to make me more profitable? And the only reason I'm asking him this, y'all, is because again, I've heard him talk, heard him have some case studies, and it's very, very interesting. So I want you to kind of break that down to us on a simple level so that people can understand how important the right data, KPIs, analytics, dashboards are.
Yeah, so I think that in general, there's these two worlds, and there's slowly the Venn diagram of those two worlds is overlapping. Slowly but surely, I just think that we're ahead of the curve in doing it. There's the Venn diagram of finance, which is 100% accuracy is usually what you're going for, and then you're going into different views of that accuracy, right? Every financial person, like you can make your thing look better or worse just by recategorizing what things are or like depreciating things up front. Regardless of what you do, it's 100% accurate, right? You're like, that's the goal at least. It's accurate to that version of the truth. On the other end, you have marketing. Marketing is usually not very tied to finance. There's an arbitrary numbers that are being used to guide some sort of output. And so at the end of the day, like the goal should be is that where marketing knows on a per campaign, per day, per outcome basis, what their target should be for almost everything that they're going for. I'll use a great example of this in e-commerce. E-commerce is like the easy one to pick on because they have an actual cost of good that is used regardless of how many hours someone spends on doing something. So they're like, they might have like 5 people. Like we have one customer that has, I think, 7 people, and they run a $70 million a year e-commerce business. And they're like remarkably good because they can scale up their efficiency on marketing spend as opposed to having this huge operating expense that they have to maintain. They can spend it all on marketing. Okay. And so what you have to consider, whether you're an agency or an info product seller or a service company, like in the like like roofing or thing, is like how one are you getting new customers? How do you inform that source of what good versus bad is? And then how do you report on it so you know what the expectation was to what the outcome is? And if you can do those three things, right? The expectation and outcome is one that's very, very hard to do. People don't like doing it very much. You can then move towards a more profitable future where you know, hey, we have operating expenses, which is like fixed fees, usually like W-2 employees, like kind of overall operating expenses of 100K per month. Cool. We then have to spend some amount of money to acquire that business that 100K fulfills. And that math equation is like in e-commerce is called contribution margin. I don't know, is there a term for that of like the delta between we spent $10,000, we then it costs us $10,000 to fulfill, and we sold it for $30,000. So like what is that like 10? It's not profit. It's like net
You're talking about
gross,
gross margin.
like a gross margin. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right word I'm looking for because I think it's like a little bit less than that. But like let's just use gross margin. And so like that number, no one knows on like an ongoing basis of like how much do we need to sell this week or this month to hit that number that we're shooting for. And if we scale up or down marketing, we're going to be okay with a smaller amount of that. And at what point does it go to negative?
Are you talking about
Is it
client acquisition cost?
well like client acquisition cost plus the idea of fulfillment of that cost, right? There's a certain point where your client or your new customer acquisition cost becomes net negative, where like you spent too much money to acquire this person because it cost this much to fulfill. And if you can lower your fulfillment costs, then you're fine. But most people don't have that relationship there of like how much do we need to sell based off of all those relationships. And so we help companies like do that from a more marketing slant. We don't work on the finance of going for 100% accuracy, but we go from a marketing slant of here's what you should be based off of what you say your goals are supposed to be.
I told you, genius. Okay, let's keep rolling. What is a money lesson that you had to learn that you wish somebody would have told you earlier on in your journey? Like, had they told me this, man, I could have skipped these two road bumps.
I really enjoy the rule of 40 in like service-based companies.
What is that?
um, the rule of 40 in like agencies is where if if you grow, you only have 40% to play with before something starts to get stressed. And let me explain that. I don't know who said this. This is like a book that I read at some point and was talked about at some point. I don't know who said it. So go attribute it to whoever you want to. So you have 40% to play with. So if you grow at 40% year over year, you have 0% profit in theory. If you're growing at 40% year over year as a service company, like 0% profit. If you don't have that, you're overstressing something else. Something else is being stressed that you might not know it. You might not be investing in legal enough, or you may have too much of these things. But if you're growing at 40%, usually your profits go down. And if you grow at 20%, you should have 20% profit margin. Again, back of the envelope math. Just like that's a very, very common thing for like service businesses where it's like, what percentage are you growing at? And this is like usually after I'd say like $2 to $4 million, like not like if you're at 500,000, going from 500,000 to a million is like much easier than going from 4 million to 5 million. Um, and so I think it's for that 40% rule. I think it starts at $4 million, which is where you're like, hey, to grow at 20% year over year, you should have 20% margin. And if you're going at 40% year over year, starting from $4 million, you're probably going to be close to 0% profit margin during that time. And that like relationship has really helped me because if we flexed up, like we've been at 40% margins before, but I know we're not investing enough in something. Like something is breaking because it's going to be the cost of our future selves. And I think that relationship, and if you are more aggressive and like, I can grow faster, I can do more, just use 60% and say, hey, I have 60% to play with. Do I want to use 20% profit and then 40% growth? Whatever it is, I've found 40% to be pretty true in the sense of like, once you account for like your W-2 income and like everything is actually being accounted for, 40% usually is what I've seen to be more or less true. So that's a money lesson that I think has been really helpful. Once I understood that, it's like, oh, as we flex up profitability, something else might be being neglected, and that's okay as long as you know that.
Right.
uh,
And I see what you're saying. So, to say it differently and to focus on the more finance side, to your point, if we're at 40% or higher margins, something is happening that we're not aware of, whether it's we're not investing into the team enough. So maybe our team is stressed out at max capacity because we're so profitable where we're not spending enough there. Or to your point with the marketing side, we need to invest in some new channels because there's probably way more cash that we have that we could be doing. So there's something that's not being addressed, even though we're super happy that we're making all this money, when in reality, we would be better served to use some of that 40%, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, to help us to either scale by growing our team, which means our team is not stressed out. They can do more work, upgrading our tech stack, automations, investing into the wealth side, which is your 401ks and matches and all of that. Paying ourselves more is an option there. So that makes sense. So
Yeah, exactly. And I've just found the 40% to be pretty useful, assuming that you're paying yourself a W-2 income that is a normal wage of what you would pay yourself as like an operator if you're like an operator, like an owner operator. That's what people I like. I
that
always
is
feel
fun.
like everyone skews it. We're like, I only pay myself $2,000 a month. We're like
Yeah,
70% profitable, and I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, obviously, if you don't have an operator that you're like, you can't replace yourself for $2,000 a month. So like,
correct.
you are
Ooh,
inherently like skipping out on something. Um,
That's a
and so
good
like,
point because we have that issue. We see that a lot. So when people are coming to us, they're like, "Yeah, I talked to this accountant and he said just pay myself $3,000," and I'm like, "How much are your bills?" Well, my bills are like 7 grand. I'm like, and what all do you
yeah,
do? Well, I do this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm like, if you were to go on a sabbatical for 4 months, traveling the world, something you always wanted to do, nobody would come do your job for 36 grand a year. And that's a super tough thing for people to swallow and to understand. Like the IRS literally has that built into what they tell you called reasonable compensation. And you have to do that. So to your point, now your profits are misrepresented because then the question that comes after that is, well, Cameron, I don't understand why I never have a bunch of cash. Well, you take a 2K salary, but you take 15 to 20K in distribution, so you never had a cash. But yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
And I think that's like the thing is like where I like paid myself probably like above like replacement cost or at replacement cost of like if I was to go find another CEO or like a person who wants to run this, like I could probably pay them my salary and then like give a bonus structure of like on growth or something like that. Like I think that that would be possible. And so when I say like 40%, 40% is assuming you're paying yourself like a normal wage because that's where people like if I just cut myself out, we now go up in like 5%. Like our profit margin is directly there. And then like you as the owner, whoever owns the company gets distributions based off of owning the asset that you happen to be working in. And that's like a very, very different take than most entrepreneurs try to start with. And I'd say like it breaks down at about $1 million a year. Once you pass a million, you start to realize, oh hey, I should pay myself an amount that makes sense. So if I want to replace myself, I know what that would cost.
That's facts. Okay, that was a good one right there. Okay, let's get a little bit more. What's the word I want to use? Deep. Okay, let's say it's 12 months from now. So we're at the end of 2026. What's one big win you'd love to be celebrating at that point in time?
I think we're gonna go for like an 80% after I sing all this 40% growth and whatever else. We're shooting for 80% in the next trailing 12 months. Uh, so we have some things that we built out from a tech side that I think will allow us to do it. It could all go to absolute like zero, and we're like, okay, cool. Um, in 12 months, I want to have a really standard sales process for our for someone to fulfill that is not me. Currently, I handle sales. I have a marketing director who handles marketing, but if someone books a call, they're chatting with me, I'm selling them the thing. So within 12 months, I want to be able to have a person step into that could sell a lower ticket thing. Like, hey, you're running $2 million a year. We have this like service that we can offer you based off of your revenue, based off of where you want to go, based off all these things. It's going to cost you X. We can fulfill it for Y. Like we know these numbers and it is tried and true from a service perspective. And then we can go up market from there where that butter is like just taken care of. And so and then on top of that I want to like be at where we can onboard like between 50 like ideally is 50 clients in the next 12 months.
I feel
So
that, yeah.
yeah.
And to your point, like what we start telling our clients, okay, so like if you are thinking you're going to get that many, and then it's kind of like you said, let's start using the data to work backwards. Well, how many new hires do we need to have? What is our tech stack like? Do we need to start changing some systems now to be ready? So I just want y'all to see that JJ is already in advance saying, I know I want to be here in 12 months and is already now working on the different steps and things and positions to fill and tech stack to get to that point. So when he's there, it's not like, oh, we got to burn it down and rebuild. Nope, it's already there. So good job there.
Yeah, and
Okay,
well, on that note, I was like
go
for
ahead.
anybody watching is like try to nail down like what is the cost of fulfillment. That's been like a huge thing for us. Like nailing down what does it cost to fulfill on this? Not admin if you have like a layer of admin, or if someone's wearing two hats of admin and like some fulfillment, but like soup to nuts, like what does it actually cost to fulfill on this customer? Um, and knowing that percentage of what they're paying you game changer.
That is
Okay,
factually
back to
true.
you.
Okay, let's go here. All right, let's talk about wifey because you said, happily married. So tell us, so when wife, first off, when did y'all meet? Was this like back in college? Was this more recent?
Yeah, we met our last year of like university.
Okay, so when you start the business and you like, babe, I got this idea, I got a vision. Matter of fact, it's called Vision Labs. What is like her first initial response? Is it like, oh my gosh, babe, I'm gonna support you for whatever you do, or is it like you finna do what?
So I started business when I was in high school. I've never had a like I had a I've never really had a W-2 job ever. So like it was less like I was already doing this when we met. I was just doing it while going to school. Um and so like I was making like really quickly for anyone who's in college, the absolute best money making scheme on planet Earth, if you are in university, is learn how to film talking head videos and sell that to a small business and use the gear from the film department of your school to film it and then charge a rental fee to them because you can rent it for free from the school. And so you'll have like $100,000 of film equipment that you can rent out for 10% of the cost. And then you can make that money because you don't actually own the film equipment, but you don't, your tuition is paying for your access to that film equipment. Best money making scheme out there, hands down, no questions asked. If you're in college and have access to that. So I was like doing that. Like I was renting gear from like this film department. I wasn't a film major. I was filming talking head videos in Napa Valley. And I was making like $5,000 a weekend, like doing that. So it
Five
wasn't a
grand a
surprise.
weekend in college is crazy.
Yeah, it was like a very nice gig. It wasn't every weekend, but like it was like that was what I'd charge is like $5,000, and
I
then
mean, but 5K in a college, even if you did that 2 weekends, that's a lot of
oh yeah,
money.
no, it's great. Yeah, would recommend. That's what I'm saying. The best money because also you have no costs. Like you're only like you get the gear. Like I had $100,000 in a $6,000 Honda Civic driving to these things. Like $100,000 of gear.
Mm. Okay, so
Like
wifey
yeah.
though, so she knows you while you're doing this. So now tell me how this goes. So she tells, I guess y'all are dating at this point. You probably didn't tell her everything. Like, yeah, I make all this money. So like when you guys finally get serious, like give us the story. We need to know. Like, how was she when you started?
Like I think that like for me, I was always doing it. I think she was more confused when she was like, "What? Like, why are you driving into like these vineyards and like how are they paying you money?" And like she was just like overall more confused because like I was making money as a college student, but I was selling myself. Like I wasn't working a job. I was like getting contracts and like doing them. So it wasn't like a thing of like, "Hey, I'm going to do this like and it's out of left field or I'm going to quit my job." Like I was in college, there was nothing but upside. um and then like after we graduated, like I just got more contracts and then it was a pivot from there. But I've never been like, this is a big shift. I'm like the least risky entrepreneur out there. Like everyone's like, wow, you're remarkably risk adverse. And I'm like, yeah, because then you can take more risk without it actually being detrimental.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so fast forward to present day. Tell us, like, what are some of the things that you guys use to like stay balanced? Because I know, again, people typically like yourself, genius, creative, always have new ideas and things you want to try. How do you kind of turn that off so that we stay happily married, right? Versus like, I'm working all the time, she'll understand.
I think a really pro tip is to marry a teacher because they work more than like I do, and like they don't get compensated at all. Well, they get compensated, but I legitimately think like I like just for like again, teaching is like the most like selfless job out there. My wife's a teacher. She leaves the house at like 7:15, 7:30 every morning, and then like gets back at like 5 to 5:30 every day, And I'm like, I don't commute, right? I'm work from home. So if I just work from 7:30 to 5:30, like that's a lot of hours. Uh, and we don't have kids right now. That's a whole different story. But um, like I would say that that's probably like a big thing is like whatever your spouse is like just measure it in relation to your spouse's occupation. Also, like I usually work one weekend morning, like from like 6 to 10,
So you're an
like
early
just to
morning person.
yeah. So I'll usually work
Mm.
like 6 or 7 to 10 or 11, either Saturday or Sunday, to kind of like work on more like administrative of like what's going to happen in 3 months type of things.
So basically, you work when she work, and then when she get home at 5:30, we just partying
Yeah.
and up all night.
Yeah, and then sometimes like it's a little bit different. Like sometimes I'll work in the evenings, but for the most part, that's the case.
Okay. So I just want to point out, y'all, he's working 7:30 to 5:30, not 9 to 5:30 or 9:30. So that's an automatic 2 extra hours over the week. That's 10 extra hours. I mean, and you wonder why he's so smart and had such fast growth. I'm just saying, the math don't lie.
Yeah, I think like also just on that, like everyone says like fast growth, but like I don't think we've ever had a year where we've grown more than 40%. Like that just compounds over time. And again, that 40% rule I think is game changer once you realize that. It's really helpful. And I'm sure there's exceptions to the exception, but that is a really helpful thing.
Okay. So, what is one thing that you guys do to connect? So, like, I know for me and my wife, we try to watch our shows after we get the kids into bed. So, we right now we're on this scandal run. So, like, we never watch it live. So, like, every night it's like we're on season 2, and it is epic right now. So, like, what is you guys' thing that you can always kind of look forward to?
Yeah, I think like we really enjoy like home improvement projects. So we always like are working on like home improvement like things. Um and like I like that as well because it's like a different medium. Like we've like bought and like completely renovated like a house that like I wired up over 50 like lights and like I redid the electrical and
You
like
can do
we
electricity.
yeah, like you just get like a person to sign off on after you do it. Like you just get an electrician to sign off like, hey, you did it right. Um, but like I like enjoy those type of things. Like we've tiled everything, like our entire house. Like we laid all the floor, like we did all the like everything. Like we own a paint sprayer to like an industrial paint sprayer to paint the outside of a house. And so like we usually work on those type of things together where it's like offline, where you're like not having to like work online, and then you're solving problems that are like three-dimensional, right? It's like ones and zeros and spreadsheets are all like very straightforward to solve. Like I say that loosely, but like but it's different when you have like
I get what you
water,
mean. Different,
electrical,
yeah, different
a
part of the brain.
house. Yeah.
I got you. Okay, here you go. If you could go back in time and you had 30 seconds, you know everything to this moment, and you could go back to 18 or 22-year-old you, 18-year-old JJ, you go back and tell him what?
I would say like if I was 18 or 20 is like spend a year to like really understand like the strategy better of like what people's problems are, and then I would try to build a software if I was like 18 or 20. Like if back like and if I was back not today 18 or 20, like if I was 18 or 20 when I was 18 or 20, I would say like build a software that like solves those problems. Now it's like hyper competitive and like there's a million softwares out there, but like I think if I had done it when I was 18 or 20, as opposed to like building a service business, I think it'd be very different as far as like what the problems are. So I think that would be like my advice to myself if I was 18 or 20 then to do that.
Going back and making some SaaS. What are your feelings on SaaS? Because I know that that's not necessarily your project or your package, but I know you do know how to make some nice web apps. I'm not going to tell them your preferred software you like with the letter R, but I know you like SaaS. Tell us a little bit more about your feelings on that, where you think it will go, etc.
I think what's going to happen is that like software and services are going to blend into one thing. And right now, basically, service providers do 10% more than what softwares can do. and they can charge 10 times the amount that the software provides. Okay, so like, I think that's the state right now is like you have a service, you layer it on usually on top of some sort of software. Like I'm sure you guys use QuickBooks,
Yep.
and you're charging 10 times whatever QuickBooks is or more, right? Like I'm sure it's probably more than 10 times what QuickBooks is charging to do that. And so like in what I like how I think about software in general is like you're either a service provider layered on top of a software, which I think software companies are going to start adding more and more of. The really really big ones like Intuit and stuff like that, like I think they're gonna have more trouble because everyone like doesn't trust them as much. But like for small softwares or medium-sized softwares, layering on services on top of that to be more efficient, to undercut a true service provider because you own the actual software is going to become more and more prevalent. And I think that's going to start happening more often than not, where the question of am I buying a service or a software is more ambiguous, where you're not
Mm.
100% sure which one it is. You're just buying the outcome of that. And I think bookkeeping is a good example of that. Like bookkeeping, there are AI bookkeeping things now. I don't know how good they are. I don't know how bad they are, but like it could just be a person. It doesn't really matter what is actually fulfilling it. Like what matters is like, am I paying $250 a month to have my books like closed in the correct way? I could care less if it's a service or a software.
All right. Okay, you went there. You came to AI, and yes, that is a concern in the industry, so to speak. So let's talk about it on your side. So we know that API. I'm thinking. See, I was working on some API keys and integrations. We know that AI can be good or bad depending on the perspective, who you are, and how you follow it. In your perspective, especially with you doing a lot of data and analytics, some people would say, "Oh man, I could pop this into my GPT and I can get these same things, so I don't need to hire you." What are your overall thoughts about it, and especially how it would affect your field and what you guys do?
I think of it like a pyramid of where you have service people at the bottom that are going to slowly be eroded away. And then you're going to have this consolidation at the top of people who charge a premium, who do something that is like slightly different or slightly like unique or slightly whatever. But like it is true. Like you can take, if you are a small business, you can do so much if you know the right questions to ask using one of these like just generic off the shelf like AI chat windows. And there used to be like roles that were that like that used to be a thing. We don't really think about it that much, but like AI is just like this wave that's slowly this pyramid, right? There's a lot of low skill labor, and then you go up a level, and then there's a lot of like little bit above lower skill. And I think what's gonna happen is that it's gonna slowly start eroding that bottom level, and you either have to upskill quicker than that erosion, or change what you're doing. That's my take. And a good example of that is like the whole offshoring concept of like it's really big in the accounting world, where it's like, hey, like you have like one person in the U.S. and offshore all of the like actual accounting work to like the Philippines, right? Well, if you're paying someone in the Philippines $2,000 a month, right, as like a very a skilled Philippines laborer, like at what point does the $500 a month AI software erode that? And I think that's going to be where brand and more trust factors are going to play into things. Like, do you want to do this, or do you want to pay a premium for a US based person to do this thing that they might be more like relational and might have those things where you're selling more soft skills than the actual hard skill itself? And
Oh,
that's what I
wow.
think. That's a very long winded way to say like it's all cooked, but we'll see where it goes.
No, I agree with that. I think because I know I've even told my team, like, hey, just to be super clear and transparent, like, make no mistake, AI is coming for your jobs. So we have to turn from being the technicians to being the thinkers, because AI is not where we are currently, but we know it's learning, getting better, faster. So you have to know how the tech works, how to program it to make it do what it is that you're trying to get from a desired output, and that's going to require you not only knowing your stuff to the best you can, but knowing how to help, to your point, the client get the outcome. Because to your point, At the end of the day, the client just wants to help. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what you need to do, what you need to buy. I just know I need help with A or to get this done. However you do it is irrelevant. I just know I'm going to price it out to you for you to do your thing. So I think that's very, very well said. Well, I think we have reached the end. So I want to give you your time to tell the people again, because they may be like, man, this JJ dude knows his stuff. I like what he's talking about. So again, your name, name of company, and how they can get in touch with you. If they're like, I want to reach out or work with you, or I have some type of project that I need help with, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you go to visionlabs.com, you can hit the contact us button. That's probably the easiest way. Right now, if you book a call, it will go to me. I can't promise that forever because that's one thing that we're trying to work on. But right now, that's probably the easiest way. I'm JJ Reynolds on LinkedIn as well. And if you do have a project problem, like with web analytics or your reporting systems or any of the things that I spoke about, like just reach out. We are working on like more standardized things for like the small to mid-sized businesses, like as we do go up market, so we can standardize the lower ticket offers and then have like a more bespoke upper tier. And I'm always willing to talk business as well if anyone has those conversations. I'm fairly open about how we do things.
All right, y'all. So again, these are the types of people that we want to bring to you in season 4. People who are already ahead of the curve, who are already thinking next year and the possibilities and how AI and data and tech will shape our future. And they're currently doing what they're doing at a super high level. So make sure if this was good, you reach out to JJ, say thank you so much, share the episode, like, subscribe, the whole nine. Our job, we're committed to continue to bring on high level and top guests that will stretch your mind, that will challenge you. You can be successful and still have time with the wife and build your projects and just get off the screen and do your thing that way while still being super successful and growing and scaling your business. It is possible to do that. So, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we can't wait to hear from you and bring you another good episode soon. Until then, take care of yourselves. Peace.